Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 11, titled The Childhood Pastimes of Krishna. Today we are reading text 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krīṇīhi, krīṇīhi, bhoḥ, phalānīti. Krīṇīhi, bhoḥ, krīṇīhi. Please come and purchase. Bhoḥ, O neighborhood residents. Phalāni, ripe fruits. Iti, thus. Śrutvā, hearing. Satvaram, very soon. Acyutaḥ, Kṛṣṇa. Phala-arthī, as if he wanted some fruits. Dhānyam, ādāya, capturing some grains of paddy. Yayau, went to the fruit vendor. Sarva-phala-pradaḥ, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can give all kinds of fruit to everyone, had now become in need of fruits. Translation. Once a woman selling fruit was calling, "Oh, inhabitants of Vrajabhūmi, if you want to purchase some fruits, come here." Upon hearing this, Krishna immediately took some grains and went to barter as if he needed some fruits. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Aborigines generally go to the villagers to sell fruits. How much the Aborigines were attached to Krishna is described here. Krishna to show his favor to the Aborigines, would immediately go purchase fruits, bartering with paddy in his hand, as he had seen others do. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulam Militam Yenam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Gadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Read the translation again. Once a woman selling fruit was calling, "O inhabitants of Vrajabhūmi, if you want to purchase some fruits, come here." Upon hearing this, Krishna immediately took some grains and went to barter as if he needed some fruits. I'm very Hare Krishna. I'm very humbled to try to speak something here. I feel myself absolutely unfit and unqualified. I'm praying for the blessings of the Vaishnavas. I hope to share something that is favorable for all of you. Hare Krishna. So the last line of this verse, it says, Yayau sarva-phala-pradaḥ. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can give all kinds of fruit to everyone, had now become in need of fruits. So, like it says in Ishopanishad, Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam what is it? Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. I'm so bad at learning verses, and when I have to sit in front of an assembly of devotees, my power for reciting verses reduces like to 10% or something. So, the personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, is perfect and complete. And from Him, so many perfect, complete manifestations are emanating. There's so many fruit trees just in this world. Krishna is supplying fruit to all kinds of living entities. You can't say He has a need for fruit. But here, the fruit vendor came to Vrindavan and said, if anyone would like some fruit, please come. And the first customer is Krishna, the absolute truth, who's giving fruit to everybody. When I was a new devotee, one of my relatives, who is quite inimical to Krishna consciousness, was challenging me and saying, why does God need you to do all of these things? You're waking up early and you're chanting mantras and you're following regulative principles. What need is there? Why does God need this from you? What kind of God has a need for you to do these things? And I was a little bewildered what to say in reply to that. What's the answer? But I found a very nice comment from Srila Prabhupada, how he answers this. It may seem that God is needing something. How is it possible? There's a Hare Krishna. In the discussions, Srila Prabhupada had many discussions about Western philosophers and their ideas. So one of the Western philosophers he discussed was someone named Spinoza, who many years ago, it feels like another lifetime, I read him in college. So on this point, Spinoza was like a theistic person, a speculator, but some nice things he can say about God. So they're discussing the quality of God, and this point, is it that God needs something? God needs something from us? That's why we're trying to surrender ourselves. He needs us to do this. Prabhupada says, He doesn't require anything of anyone. He is complete. But if anyone offers Him something out of love, it is His benefit who is offering something to God. God doesn't require anything. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, God says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. A devotee, out of his love, even he offers me a little fruit, a little leaf, a little water, little flower. Hare Krishna. Tad aham asnami. I eat that. So God is fully satisfied in Himself. Why He desires a patram pushpam phalam toyam from a devotee? It is not for his benefit, but if he begins to offer something out of love, then his love begins with God. He gives him the chance. So offering to God does not mean God is benefited. It is benefit of the devotee that he begins to offer. And if he gradually develops that love, then his life is successful. So it is a chance. God does not require anything, but the giver, whatever he is, he gives to God. It is for his own benefit. Just like the example is given, if your face is decorated, then the reflection of the face in the mirror is automatically decorated. So we are a reflection of God. If God is decorated, then we become decorated. That is the idea. And then the next question. So when Kṛṣṇa destroys the demons, he does so without passion or without hatred? Prabhupada says, yes, naturally, it is the benefit of the demon. So this Aborigine woman has come to Vrindavan to sell fruits, and Kṛṣṇa has understood that she has some love. And so seemingly they're bartering for fruits. Prabhupada says, how much the Aborigines were attached to Kṛṣṇa is described here. Jai Shishi Krishna Balaram, Shishi Gornitai, Shishi Radha Sham Sundar Lalita Vishaka Devi Ki Jai. Excuse me. Prabhupada has said how much the Aborigines were attached to Kṛṣṇa is described here. So the Aborigine woman doesn't just have fruit, but she has some attachment for Kṛṣṇa, and Kṛṣṇa is interested in that. So she's giving fruits, and Kṛṣṇa wants that fruit. He needs that fruit. So another point, and so it is for our benefit. And this nice point Prabhupada made, it is like if we decorate ourselves, then the reflection is also decorated in the mirror. So if Kṛṣṇa is decorated, if Kṛṣṇa is served, then that is the best way to serve our own interest. Like watering the root of the tree, then automatically all of the fruits and leaves are nourished. By feeding the stomach, automatically all of the limbs are nourished. Our best hope for satisfying our own need is to first consider Kṛṣṇa's need and to serve Kṛṣṇa's need. It is not for his benefit. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, devotional service is very simple and it can be done by anyone. This is an Aboriginal woman. Prabhupada says this in the purport. Actually, I didn't know that until I read this purport. In the Varnashram system, the Varnashram system is beautifully manifest in the Krishna Lila. We see that in different places, like at the Nandotsav celebration. They had qualified Brahmins. They have, of course, they have so many kings. The Krishna is coming from the Vaishya community, very nice Vaishya community. They're protecting so many cows. So everything is there by their cow protection. They have manifest a very amazing Vedic society and culture where all of the Varnas are present. In our current society, we don't see it like that we have a qualified class of Brahmins and so on. Now things are in chaos. So all the Varnas were there, but there may be classes of human beings, because all of those Varnas, they have their different duties, they have their qualities that they have to manifest. It's not such a cheap thing, actually, to come to the human platform of life and to be part of the Aryan civilization. And so there are people that are, they have human forms, but they have not come to the standard that they can be in that Varnashram society. And so these Aborigines are in that class. Aborigines are outside of the Varnashram system. But bhakti is so wonderful, it's so universal, and it's so simple. Even someone is not in a high category, still they can participate and do service to Krishna. Like Prabhupada says in that on-chanting Hare Krishna essay, or the spoken, the speech that he gives. He says, we have seen it practically. Even a child can take part in the chanting, and even a dog can take part in the chanting. So it is for everyone. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tamaham bhaktyupartam ashnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. For other types of yoga, for other types of ritual, religion, so many complex things may be required. To do like elaborate yagyas, for example, it requires qualified Brahmin priests, so many different types of arrangements. When like in Krishna book, Maharaj Yudhisthira is doing the Rajasuya sacrifice. It demanded that he had to, all of the kings had to agree that this was the emperor. So in all directions, it's like all the kingdoms had to be conquered or agree to cooperate with Maharaj Yudhisthira. And then there's some elaborate rituals for that type of sacrifice. It's not an easy thing. Not everyone can do that, to say the least. But this is something anyone can do. Offering a leaf, a fruit, a flower, or some water. We can hear something what Prabhupada says in his purport. It is very nice. For the intelligent person, it is essential to be in Krishna consciousness, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, in order to achieve a permanent blissful abode for eternal happiness. The process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor without any kind of qualification. The same point. The only qualification required in this connection is to be a pure devotee of the Lord. It does not matter what one is or where one is situated. It does not matter what one is or where one is situated. When I first was coming to Krishna consciousness, I was visiting the temple at 26 Second Avenue in New York City, which was the first storefront preaching center that Srila Prabhupada had. And many times we heard the story that at one point a homeless man, which means very poor person who's in a very difficult situation of life, doesn't have a proper place to live, he's living on the street. Somehow he came to that storefront and must have used the bathroom and understood that there is no toilet paper in the bathroom. And of course we know that Vaishnav culture, we have a nice system and there's no need for toilet paper. So that homeless person, he returned again with some rolls of toilet paper, and he brought it into the bathroom and left it there as a gift, as a service. And Prabhupada noted that and appreciated that, how now this person's devotional life, look how it has begun. So any poor person, any simple person, any condition of life, it does not matter what one is or where one is situated. The process is so easy that even a leaf or a little water or fruit can be offered to the Supreme Lord in genuine love, and the Lord will be pleased to accept it. No one, therefore, can be barred from Krishna consciousness because it is so easy and universal. Who is such a fool that he does not want to be Krishna conscious by this simple method and thus attain the highest perfectional life of eternity, bliss, and knowledge? Krishna wants only loving service and nothing more. Krishna accepts even a little flower from his pure devotee. He does not want any kind of offering from a non-devotee because he doesn't need the offering. He wants devotion. So devotional service is simple. It is for everyone. And so Krishna wants to give some mercy, even to this Aborigine woman. Never mind, she is not in the Varnashram system. There's an idea that is prevalent somehow in Indian culture. And that is that in order to achieve perfection, in order to become liberated from the cycle of birth and death, then first one has to be a Brahmin. And who is a Brahmin? Who can be a Brahmin? It is only the person that is born into the family of Brahmins. And if someone is not born into the family of Brahmins, then he will have to do some pious activity to first come to that birth. And then only can that person attain perfection, achieve liberation, and so on. This is a very prominent idea, and practically our whole sampradaya is arguing against this point. Devotional service transcends any consideration of what one is, where one is from, and by devotional service alone, one can attain the highest perfection. There's another section relevant to this point from Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion. In the chapter titled The Purity of Devotional Service, Srila Prabhupada writes, Rupa Goswami states that devotional service is transcendental to all material considerations and that it is not limited to any particular country, class, society, or circumstance. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is transcendental and has no cause. Devotional service is executed without any hope for gain, and it cannot be checked by any material circumstances. It is open for all, without any distinction, and it is the constitutional occupation of the living entities. That is the point. That is why we can talk about the children and the dogs and the animals in the Jharikanda forest and the homeless people, and everybody can do devotional service. Why? Because it is the constitutional occupation of the living entities. In the Middle Ages, after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya's great associate, Lord Nityananda, a class of priestly persons claimed to be the descendants of Nityananda, calling themselves the Goswami caste. They further claimed that the practice and spreading of devotional service belonged only to their particular class, which was known as Nityananda Vamsha. In this way, they exercised their artificial power for some time, until Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the powerful acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, completely smashed their idea. There was a great hard struggle for some time, but it has turned out successfully, and it is now correctly and practically established that devotional service is not restricted to a particular class of men. Besides that, anyone who is engaged in devotional service is already at the status of being a high-class Brahmin. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's struggle for this movement has come out successful. It is on the basis of his position that anyone can now become a Gaudiya Vaishnava from any part of the world or any part of the universe. Anyone who is a pure Vaishnava is situated transcendentally, and therefore the highest qualification in the material world, namely to be in the mode of goodness, has already been achieved by such a person. Our Krishna consciousness movement in the Western world is based on the above-mentioned proposition of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, our spiritual master. On his authority, we are claiming members from all sections of the Western countries. The so-called Brahmins claim that one who is not born into a Brahmin family cannot receive the sacred thread and cannot become a high-grade Vaishnava. But we do not accept such a theory because it is not supported by Rupa Goswami nor by the strength of the various scriptures. Anyway, there's so many nice points to be made, but just so I don't read to you the whole time. Srila Prabhupada, he goes on to say, if anyone will seriously take to devotional service, will follow the process very strictly, take initiation, then that person can come to the status of a Brahmin and to the status of the best type of Brahmin. And we've seen many things in our Krishna consciousness movement, but we've seen that also, that even people from difficult backgrounds, from sinful backgrounds where there's meat eating and intoxication and illicit sex and etc., even from such type of background, we've seen devotees take the process very, very seriously and become very high-class devotees, and you can say better than so many types of Brahmins. One point to be made, I've read from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I think it really helps explain this point. There are two types of sukriti, two types of pious activity. One type he calls as nitya sukriti or bhakti sukriti, and another is naimitika sukriti or temporary sukriti. What it means is bhakti or nitya sukriti is eternal. By doing devotional service, that is to a person's permanent credit. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there is no loss or diminution on this path. What it means is anything that one does in devotional service is to one's eternal credit, to one's eternal benefit. On the platform of pious activities, doing works in the mode of goodness, giving in charity and things, education and health, on the mundane platform, that may help one achieve a higher standard in the material world, like a higher standard of enjoyment. One can become elevated to the higher planets, or one can, acquire different types of material opulences, become wealthy, and so on. That type of sukriti, that type of pious work is temporary, because all of the results will not last. They will be stolen ultimately by the time factor. So if one is a Brahmin, it means that one is elevated in that type of pious work. What is a Brahmin? It means someone who's elevated in the mode of goodness. So that person has done pious activity in the past to achieve such a high position, to be, amongst the top class of human beings. But if one is not careful, that can be lost, because everything in this world can be lost. And so when we're judging others, not that we should judge others like in a condescending way, but when we are examining others, it may be that one is very elevated in pious activity and in a very high status of life, but a beginner or have no pious credit in terms of bhakti, right? Everyone has seen that. We've seen, so maybe someone is a so-called Brahmin, but they're not a devotee, or someone, is advanced in having a lot of opulence and things in the material world, but they're not a devotee. And conversely, someone that has, on the material platform, they are suffering from some sinful reaction, and so their position is seemingly very low, but they may be very developed in their devotional service. I think anyway, we can think of so many examples, like Prahlad Maharaj. He took birth as the son of a very horrible, great demon, which is maybe not the most pious type of birth, but in terms of his bhakti, he is very highly situated. If you see Namacharya Haridas Thakur, he is the Acharya of the holy name, chanting the holy name. Advaitacharya, when he was doing some type of Shraddha ceremony, and as part of the ritual, the most senior, most high-class Brahmin should be fed first. And so Advaitacharya chose Haridas Thakur, even he was coming from a Muslim background. And to the Brahmins present were somehow infuriated that how can this person be chosen? Look at his birth. But because of his elevation in devotional service and Krishna consciousness, he was chosen to get that offering first. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, his background was from, on the material consideration, was from the most high class of Brahmin families, from both mother and father's side. And when Haridas Thakur passed away, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally took his body in his hands and personally went begging to everybody to collect prasadam to have a grand feast in honor of Haridas Thakur. Srila Prabhupada writes, this is again from Nectar Devotion, a person is born in a Brahmin family or in a family of dog-eaters due to his past activities. If a person is born in a family of dog-eaters, it means that his past activities were all sinful. But if even such a person takes to the path of devotional service and begins to chant the holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, he is at once fit to perform the ritualistic ceremonies. This means that his sinful reactions have immediately become neutralized. Prabhupada also, he quotes this verse from the end of the 3rd canto. Devahuti is speaking to Kapila Dev. She says, "My dear Lord, there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, beginning from hearing and chanting, anyone who hears about your pastimes, who chants about your glories, who offers you obeisances, who thinks of you, and in this way executes any of the 9 kinds of devotional activities, even if he is born in a family of dog-eaters, the lowest grade of mankind, becomes immediately qualified to perform sacrifices. Srila Prabhupada writes as well in Bhagavad Gita on the same point. What is that? O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and Shudras, can attain the supreme destination. Prabhupada writes, it is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service there is no distinction between the lower and higher classes of people. In the material conception of life there are such divisions, but for a person engaged in transcendental devotional service to the Lord, there are not. Everyone is eligible for the supreme destination. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that even the lowest, who are called chandalas, dog-eaters, can be purified by association with a pure devotee. Therefore, devotional service and the guidance of a pure devotee are so strong that there is no discrimination between the lower and higher classes of men. Anyone can take to it. The most simple man taking shelter of the pure devotee can be purified by proper guidance. According to the different modes of material nature, men are classified in the mode of goodness, Brahmins, mode of passion, Kshatriyas or administrators, the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, Vaishyas or merchants, and the mode of ignorance, Shudras or workers. Those lower than them are called Chandalas, and they are born in sinful families. Generally, the association of those born in sinful families is not accepted by the higher classes, but the process of devotional service is so strong that the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord can enable people of all the lower classes to attain the highest perfection of life. This is possible only when one takes shelter of Krishna, as indicated here by the word vyapashritya. One has to take shelter completely of Krishna. Then one can become greater than great jnanis and yogis. Yes, so anyway, just trying to find something from Prabhupada's teachings to elaborate on this point. Even she is an Aborigine lady. She is eligible for devotional service, and Krishna is giving mercy to her and blessing her for her devotional service. Never mind what class of life she is in. Just one more point on this point of Bhakti Sukriti, Nitya Sukriti. Srila Prabhupada has made some very nice comments that I would like to share. Srila Prabhupada says, this is from a lecture that he spoke in Melbourne, if you deposit 1 cent daily, one day it may become $100. 1 cent is like 1 paisa. It takes 100 cents to make 1 US dollar or Canadian dollar, I think also. Excuse me, not Canadian, Australian. He's in Melbourne. If you deposit 1 cent daily, one day it may become $100. So when you get the $100, you can get the business. So you come here daily, meaning he's speaking in the temple. You come here daily, 1 cent, 1 cent. When it will be $100, you will become a devotee. Devotees say, Jai, Hari Bol, Prabhupada. So this is not wasted. That is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krita Punya Punja. Krita Punya. Krita means done. Sukadeva Goswami is describing when Krishna was playing with his cowherd boyfriends. So he was describing that these cowherd boys who are playing with Krishna, They have not come to this position in one day. Krita punya punja. After life, having performed pious activities, now they have come to this position that they are allowed to play with the Supreme. So krita punya punja, any pious activities done for the sake of Krishna, that is your permanent asset. It will never be lost. So go on increasing the asset. One day it will so help you that you will be able to play with Krishna. This is Krishna consciousness movement. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Another comment on the same point, Prabhupada says, and this is reminding me of our temple very much. It's a very inspiring quote. Deity worship is recommended. So if anyone does not know anything, if he simply comes and offers obeisances, that is also nice. Therefore, deity worship is important for the common man. Even if he does not know anything, if he simply comes and offers obeisances, if he little dances with kirtan, everything will be taken into credit. Then one day he will become a devotee. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. So if someone comes, they see the artik, they offer obeisances, little dancing, little kirtan. Like with our 24-hour kirtan department, the devotees are trying to encourage all of our guests. Little dancing, little chanting, that will be to their permanent credit. That is the greatest charity. And like Prabhupada said, little by little, just 1 cent per day. One day it will be $100. One day you will be devotee. One day you will be able to play with Krishna. So, even if there are calamities, even if we have to take a bad birth, we have to be an aborigine, we have to be born from demons, we have to be born in Western meat-eating families. Ultimately, it is not an impediment because there is no loss on the path of bhakti. Anything we do will be to our eternal credit and gain. We'll leave it there. Are there any questions? Quickly or briefly, maybe 1 or 2 questions. Thank you so much, Prabhu. That was a very nice understanding. I totally agree with you.
As you were speaking that Krishna is not in need of anything. He wants anything sometimes the offering which we are offering during Janmashtami time or other times, we are offering a lot of offenses to the Lord. Nice prasadam we make and we give to the Lord.
Yes.
So what is that? Can you explain something on that?
Right. I think in this Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada says, yes, when it talks about the angas of sadhana, the point is Krishna can be satisfied easily with a simple offering. But if we have the capacity to offer more elaborately, opulent feasts and so on, then that's very nice, and that may be an expression of devotion. Like, yeah, it's the great devotees, if you will hear in the Shastra, the gopis are offering beautiful arrangements for things for Krishna to eat and enjoy. It's not that, Mother Yashoda is bringing Radharani to her house just to give some water and some fruit to Krishna. They're making all kinds of beautiful, elaborate preparations. So if it's done with devotion, Krishna can accept that also. Is that okay? Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.